many little nuances of hockey that make the difference in a really good quality team, a good quality shift, and so much happens over there on the bench that we don't even see during a game. But we're about to break it all down as we welcome you back inside the Mountain Blue Studios to Hockey Day in Utah. Dominic Morris, Sarah Merrifield, and yeah, matinee action. Teams in Carolina playing the Hurricanes for the second and final time this season. But right now, we're about to break it down in FunDOMentals, little Hockey 101, on the art of the line change, because that is such a critical part of the game in NHL. And you know, why have a line change? What's the purpose of it?
Well, it's a unique part to the NHL. And first of all, the reason we have line changes is because it's the fastest sport on earth. And as you see, these players after about 40 seconds, they start to get real tired real fast. And you get stuck out there, you're in trouble. So it's a game that happens quick. You get on, it's an intense 45-second sprint, and then you get off, and the next line gets on.
It's one of the things the coaches monitor most, too, especially out there on the bench with all the technology that the league has. But there are two kinds of line changes. Can you walk us through what those are?
So the first kind is the change that's a little bit more typical. It's the one that happens after a whistle. Now, the unique thing about hockey is that there is a real home ice advantage. It's not just the crowd. Other sports, it's just kind of the crowd. Baseball, of course, you have last at bat. But in hockey, you have last change. Okay, so let's say we're at Delta Center and the Oilers are in town and their coach decides to put on Connor McDavid. Well, last change means that the Oilers have to make their substitutions first. And then head coach Andre Tourigny can see who they've put on and select, okay, Connor McDavid's out there. I want Mikhail Sergachev on there. He's going to be my best defender against Connor McDavid, so he can choose the matchup.
Matchup advantage. All right.
The second type of substitution situation is what we call on the fly, which is, again, unique to the sport of hockey.
Quite literally on the fly.
You know, other sports don't have this, where players are coming on and off. It looks like controlled chaos at times, but there's a method to all this madness, and all of it comes down to communication. But the sport happens so fast, it's like a musical melody the way these players come on and off.
Well, as you watch those examples, there's so many things happening, not just the players, but there's the equipment staff handing gear, there's communication between coaches and players. So what happens during a line change? Because everyone's probably doing something a little different. Okay,
great question. The way it typically happens is the coach will decide who's up next. Okay? And so he'll either give you a tap on the shoulder or he'll verbally call out, Barrett Hayton, your line's up. Okay? So Barrett Hayton now will communicate verbally so that everyone on the bench can hear him who he's changing for. So Barrett Hayton is a centerman. So let's say Barrett Hayton is going to change for Kevin Stenlund. He'll yell out, I've got Stenny, or he'll say, I've got 82. All right, so everyone can hear him. That eliminates the possibility of someone else thinking they're up, right? But if Barrett Hayton hadn't said anything, then they both think they're up and jump on the ice, too many men on the ice.
There you go.
So they verbally call it out. That communication is key so that chaos comes down to controlled chaos.
And the other thing I noticed too is that there's usually a pattern of where players sit on the bench, right? Is there a line or an organized chaos madness on the bench, how they find their spots?
Excellent question, Sarah. So the simple definition is that the defensemen, always sit closer to their net. Because the way they play on the ice, they're always closer to their net. So the D will switch ends in the second period and in overtime because the play switch ends. So in this picture, trivia question, where's Utah's net?
Utah's, as in the goalie, the goaltender, yes, the protection is going to be on this side because I see all the defensemen over on this side. And the backup goalie.
Your quick study.
All right, so with that being the case, we talked a little bit about all the chaos, the controlled chaos that happens on the bench. There are opportunities to avoid avoidable mistakes. What are some of the mistakes that could be made in line changes?
So sometimes you'll see what's called a bench minor, where there's a penalty that's called for too many men on the ice, and that's when the confusion happens, where maybe, for example, two players thought they were up and they jumped on for one player coming off. The other thing that can happen is you're supposed to be within 5 feet of the bench. Okay, there's a little bit of a grace there in terms of you see Kevin Stenlund coming to the bench. I'm Barrett Hayton. I got to make sure that Kevin Stenlund is completely out of the play before I jump on.
Okay.
If I jump on and Kevin Stenlund touches the puck, for example, that's too many men on the ice and a penalty.
And always skate in, jump off, jump on.
Typically, skate in, hop over the boards to get on.
We're protecting ourselves here with no skate blades. There we go. Another avoidable mistake.
Yeah.
All right, well, we thank you, Don, for helping us break down the art of the line change.